The Great Seljuk Empire, the state of the steppe, the shield of Islam, the beginning of the 11th century. The wind of the steppe was changing direction once again. In the dusty plains of Khorasan, among the tents, a name echoed: Seljuk Bey. Once a commander of the Oguz Yabgu state, Seljuk Bey stood against injustice, oppression, and corruption. He migrated with the tribes he gathered to the region of Jand, and there he established a new order with a new faith. Thus, the lineage that would change the course of history, the Seljuks, was born through this migration. A search for faith and order began. Seljuk Bey and his followers were not merely a tribe, they were a movement that united the freedom of the steppe, the justice of Islam, and the discipline of the Turk. The struggle that began under the dominance of the Ghaznavids gradually turned into the fire of independence. The grandsons of Seljuk, Tugril, and Chagri Bey were the ones who turned that fire into an empire. A new state was being founded. The time of Tugril and Chagri Bey had come. The year is 1040, the Battle of Dandanakan. In the steppe of Khorasan, on one side stood the weary but faithful Seljuk army, on the other, the centuries-old empire of the Ghaznavids. When the battle began, there was no fear in the eyes of the Seljuk soldiers, but a spark of deliverance. Arrows darkened the skies, mounted warriors raced like the wind, and in the end, victory belonged to the Seljuks. With this battle, the Ghaznavids withdrew from the stage of history, and a new power took their place: the Great Seljuk Empire. Tuhril Bey made the city of Rey his capital. Now there was a new protector of the Turks in the east and of the Islamic world in the west. A new empire became the refuge of the Islamic world. Tuhril Bey was not only a warrior, he was also a political genius. In Baghdad, the authority of the Abbasid Caliph was oppressed by the Shiite Buyids. Tugril Bey entered Baghdad with his army and rescued the Caliph. The Caliph granted him a title, Sultan of the East and the West. From that moment on, the Seljuks were not only a Turkish state, but the protector of the Islamic world, the Sultan of Islam. The order founded by Tugril Bey was built upon justice, merit, and discipline. He carried the discipline of the nomadic tent into the palace. The symbol of justice and courage was rising. After Tugril Bey, his nephew ascended the throne, and he engraved his name in history with golden letters, Alp Arslan. True to his name, the heroic lion, known both for his bravery and his mercy, he taught his army not only how to fight, but why they fought. The year 1071. A moment of destiny was approaching on the stage of history, the Battle of Manzikert. The day the gates opened, that day arrived. On one side, the great army of Byzantium, on the other, the Seljuk soldiers, fewer in number but filled with faith. Before the battle, Alp Arslan wore a white shroud and turned to his soldiers. "I am ready to die today. Whoever wishes to die with me, let him wear this shroud." Those words were carved into the hearts of the entire army with the wind. The battle began. Turkish archers, wolf-like swift cavalry, strategy upon strategy, and suddenly the Byzantine army collapsed. In the end, the Byzantine Emperor Romanos Diogenes was captured. When Alp Arslan faced him, he did not bow. He did not raise his sword. He simply said, "I came not to kill you, but to forgive you." That day at Manzikert, not just a battle was won. The gates of Anatolia were opened to the Turks. This victory changed the destiny of a nation for centuries to come. Of course, a state also needed a mind, a sage. After Alp Arslan, his son Malik Shah came to the throne and raised the power of the state to its peak. But behind this power stood a great mind, Vizier Nizam al-Mulk. Nizam al-Mulk wrote down the principles of state governance in his work Siyasetnama, the Book of Government. Even today, that book is a symbol of statecraft. He founded the Nizamiya Madrasas, revolutionizing education in the Islamic world. Thousands of scholars were trained in these schools. The Seljuks learned to protect the lands they conquered with the sword through knowledge. The golden age of science, culture, and art. The Great Seljuk Empire was not merely an empire, but a carrier of civilization. Baghdad, Nishapur, Merv, and Ray became centers of knowledge. Mosques, madrasas, caravanserais, and libraries were built. Scholars worked in astronomy, philosophy, mathematics, and law. Seljuk art stood out through stonework and architecture. Domes, minarets, tiles, each reflected a meaning, order, faith, and aesthetics. But the end of an era was approaching. After the death of Malik Shah, the empire began to weaken. Struggles for the throne, regional principalities, and palace intrigues gnawed the state from within. At this time, a new threat rose from the west. The Crusades. The Seljuks resisted these invasions for years, but unity was lost. Every region declared its own sultan. The state fragmented into Iraq Seljuks, Kirman Seljuks, Syria Seljuks, and Anatolian Seljuks. Yet all of them carried the spirit of the Great Seljuk Empire. Could a legacy be eternal? The Great Seljuk Empire collapsed toward the end of the 12th century, but the legacy it left lived on for centuries. They showed the world that the Turks were not only warriors, but also founders of civilization. If the Seljuks had not existed, neither the Ottomans would have risen, nor would the Islamic world have been united again. Upon the foundations they laid, the destiny of a nation and the basis of a civilization were built. Final words: the state of the steppe, the fortress of faith. The Great Seljuk Empire was not just an empire, but an ideal, a symbol of unity, justice, and faith. Children of the steppe brought order to the world. They conquered with the sword, ruled with the pen, and became eternal through justice. In our next video, we will look at the Anatolian Seljuk state. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and stop treating others any differently than how you believe you deserve to be treated.
Gotta get some RPGs.